Weber Grills and Great Chefs Productions presents Grill Out New Orleans, featuring grilling tips and recipes from some of the Crescent City's premier chefs, including Susan Spicer of Bayona, Emeril Lagasse of Emerils and Nola, Michael Udo of G&E Courtyard Grill, and Jamie Shannon from Commander's Palace.
Bayona has become one of the French Quarter's most sought-after dining experiences, due in large part to Chef Susan Spicer's adventuresome cuisine. She offers upscale cooking with the Weber gas grill, employing the direct method. Here's her pork tenderloin, which begins with a marinade, also used for shiitake mushrooms.
So the first thing I'm going to do is put together a little marinade here. I'm going to start with some garlic, a little bit of chopped garlic, minced ginger root. You could use ginger powder if you don't want to keep the root on hand. This is a little bit of balsamic vinegar and a little soy sauce. This is actually an Indonesian soy sauce, which is a little sweeter, a little more syrupy than most of your normal soy sauce. And we got a little peanut oil. Just going to whisk that together. And then to make it interesting, we're going to add some of this, these chili paste here, which gives it a little kick.
This is a Thai product found in Oriental and other specialty shops.
And I'm also going to add a little squeeze of lime juice. Now, because this has vinegar and lime juice, this is not a marinade that you would want to leave your meat in for a very long time, because that'll start to cook the meat. But since the pork tenderloins are pretty small, we don't need to leave them in there for a very long period of time anyway. But first, before we put the meat in there, we're going to go ahead and put some of these shiitake mushrooms. Let's see. You just want to coat the mushrooms.
Then the pork is coated.
And we'll toss those in the marinade. The soy sauce, the sweet soy sauce, or really any kind of soy sauce, will help give the meat a nice color on the grill, because it sort of caramelizes with the heat.
The shiitakes go on first. Use any available fresh mushrooms, but the chef advises that the larger, the better.
While those are cooking, I guess I'm going to go ahead and put the meat on too, so that the pork won't take very long to cook with the mushrooms. I can be slicing the mushrooms while the pork is cooking.
The grilled mushrooms are sliced. They are one component of the warm salad that also includes carrots, red bell peppers, and green onions sliced on the bias. Before service, sliced cucumbers will be added. Chef Spicer uses a variety of exotic greens, but any combination will do, including, she notes, cabbage and/or spinach. Here's another serving idea. The salad and pork are presented on an angel hair pasta pillow. The cooked pasta is shaped into a disc and quickly browned in oil. The pork is turned to burn in grill marks, then checked for doneness. Be sure to rest the meat before carving. Before service, the salad is warmed.
The tongs. We're not really trying to cook the greens too much, just wilt them a little bit. Just warm it up somewhat.
Sliced cucumbers are added after warming, and presentation begins. The dressing contains peanut oil, lime juice, chopped ginger, red wine vinegar, pureed tomato, and chopped cilantro.
Yeah.
The topping is strips of fried wonton wrappers. In 1994, Chef Emeril Lagasse was nominated Chef of the Year by the James Beard Society. His two New Orleans operations, Emeril's and Nola, have quickly become de rigueur for tourists and locals alike. He uses a gas grill and direct grilling for this formidable double pork chop with sweet potatoes and tamarind sauce.
I'm going to take a pork chop. It's about 14 to 16 ounces. And I'm going to season with my blend of Creole seasoning, which has a little salt and paprika. It has also some black and white, as well as red pepper, the cayenne pepper. And I want to season both sides as well as the outer side, and that way it'll all taste good.
Accompanying the pork is sliced parboiled sweet potatoes, enclosed in an aluminum foil pouch. They are grilled right along with the meat, seasoned before closing the pouch.
Unusual spice that I use, little childhood memory, is I take a little bit of cinnamon and sugar mixture, and what I want to do is the flavor and seasoning of using cinnamon and the sweetness of sugar with the sweet potatoes, really quite delicious. One of my favorite foil pouches to do on the grill is also just taking onions and peeling onions and just wrapping them in the foil. It's a little bit of butter. You can use oil if you prefer. And then what I like to do is just sort of make a little pouch. You can totally seal it, almost sort of like the way in New Orleans that we do papillote. And then we sort of take this end and you simply make a little pouch, and you can actually even make yourself a little handle.
Halfway through grilling, the chef checks the sweet potato pouch and turns the chop. At the end, the pork will be glazed with an interesting sauce featuring tamarind. Incidentally, tamarind is the primary flavor factor of Worcestershire sauce.
But the base of this is actually tamarind, or tamarino is another name for it. And actually what tamarind is actually a seed, and it has a little citrus, a nice little fruity flavor to it. And you can buy tamarind in two ways. You can buy it in block form, usually with or sometimes without the seed, as well as in the tamarind seed as well that you can scrape out, sort of like an oversized vanilla bean. One of the favorite ways is to take tamarind, and then I sort of just have taken Louisiana cane syrup and a little bit of dark molasses as well. And I use a little bit of chili powder and some salt and pepper, and actually a little water just to thin it out, because tamarind is a little thick. And we just whisk that together to sort of a new barbecue sauce. We're going to take a little bit of the tamarind glaze and just sort of smear it and let it just fall down on the pork chop.
After the chop is liberally coated, close the grill top to allow the glaze to set. This will lead to final presentation.
And what we'll do now is we'll take our delicious caramelized sweet potatoes, and then we'll take our delicious tamarind glazed pork chop, and we'll add a little bit more tamarind.
Susan Spice's Encore uses the indirect method and features a bourbon-marinated, spinach-stuffed beef tenderloin served with mashed potatoes and turnips. Chef Spice's barbecue sauce is a chunky affair. She uses fresh tomato, onions, and mushrooms, all smoked for a bit on the grill.
So you can see we've got some nice smoke going here in the little side compartment. You want to soak your chips, or pretty good sized chips, and you want to soak them in water for about half an hour so you get a nice amount of smoke.
The smoke-infused vegetables are chopped and constitute the base of the sauce.
The barbecue sauce is basically made with the vegetables that are cut up. You want to saute the onions and mushrooms together a little bit first with some garlic. And it's moistened with a little bit of bourbon, then the fresh tomatoes, which are peeled, which are really easy to peel, as you can see at this point. That skin's just going to pretty much come right off. Then what you can do is core it after you've peeled it. And then you're just going to chop that up, and that's going to be the basis for the sauce. You're going to cook that down a little bit, maybe add a little bit of brown sugar, a little vinegar of your choice. You can use balsamic, you can use cider vinegar, red wine vinegar, and just cook it down and then flavor it the way you like to. And it's going to have a nice subtle smoking taste.
Now the chef prepares a marinade for the beef.
And I use brown sugar and some salt. And this is good to do if you're going to smoke something. It's nice to do this overnight, which is how I would normally do it. We're putting a little bourbon and some black pepper, a little bit of garlic. Stir that around. Put a little bit of this, a little bit of that. This is a little bit of balsamic vinegar. We're going to put a touch of that in there too. But before I marinate it, I'm going to stuff it. And what I've done is I've taken some nice fresh spinach and blanched it and chopped it up and mixed it with some smashed up roasted garlic. So the only thing you need is you need a long knife, or you need a skewer. You can use a steel, but you should probably wrap it with plastic or something. But all you're going to do is, very carefully of course, insert this nice long knife. And it, as you can see, I got a lot of ways to go, so it doesn't have to be quite this long. If you're, this is probably about I would say about a 2-pound piece of tenderloin. And then I'm just going to take the spinach and just stuff it in there. And it doesn't want to be, I've also put a little bit of cream in there, but you don't want it to be too wet. And you don't want to cook the spinach much before you do it, because naturally it's going to cook while it's roasting. This is probably one of those processes that you don't want your guests to see while you're preparing things, but let's see. I want to make sure that the hole is all the way through. But I think there's something nice. There's a nice little extra surprise when you have something stuffed. It's like lagniappe. It looks nice, and it usually tastes good because it helps to season the meat from the inside out. Turn it in the marinade. And the sugar in the marinade is going to help caramelize it on the grill, but you're going to have to be careful. We're going to sear it, and then we're going to turn that middle center burner off, which is nice because you'll have the indirect heat going around the outside, and it won't keep cooking. We're going to put it that side down first. I'm going to close it again. We're going to let that sear for a couple of minutes. And leave it on there for a few more minutes, and then we're going to turn it over. And once you've seared it on both sides, you're going to want to cook it probably for about another 15 minutes or so. And at that point, once it's been seared and looks really pretty, you can turn that center burner off, and you won't have to worry about flare-ups, and you're going to have that indirect heat all around the outside. When you close that, it's going to be just like an oven, and so it's just going to be like roasting this beautiful tenderloin in the oven.
Incidentally, the oysters have nothing to do with the dish. They are the chef's comfort food.
And we're gonna, I think I'm also gonna throw on, I have some nice Louisiana oysters here, because what happens to me is while I'm cooking, I usually get really hungry. Okay, these are looking pretty good here. Still a little smoke. I'm going to take the barbecue sauce that we've made and warm it up on the grill, and I'm going to use this nice little burner here. There aren't many things that go better with roast beef than mashed potatoes, so I've made a version of mashed potatoes, but that also has turnips and a turnip green puree, which I thought would be sort of a nice southern touch to go with our bourbon barbecue sauce. So, there we go. That looks pretty good. Now this is pretty much medium with a medium rare center, so you can leave it on a little bit less than that. If it starts to come out as you slice it, just push it back in. Once you've made your initial, once you've gotten through that little crust on top, you don't have to exert quite so much pressure. This is your meat and potato lovers dish. Go. And we'll go sort of right down the center with that. And for a little contrast, we're just going to put some, these are little fried parsnip chips, just to give it a little sweetness and a little crunch.
The final gas grill offering is prepared by Emeril Lagasse using direct heat. It's his grilled tuna with potato and andouille sausage hash. The chef begins by seasoning a yellowfin tuna steak.
But the one thing that you certainly want to do is you want to just sort of season it with your favorite spice. Mine's happens to be my own blend of Creole spice, which is a blend of salt and paprika. Couple of different peppers. I use some black and white pepper as well as the cayenne pepper. And then, particularly with seafood and shellfish, I love to add different herbs. You can see that I have some basil and thyme and a little bit of oregano inside of that blend.
The grilled tuna will be glazed with a sauce containing ketchup, grated horseradish, lemon zest, cane syrup, and the chef's spice blend. Meanwhile, a pan on the side burner has been warmed, and potatoes are browned in olive oil.
And earlier, before I came out to do some grilling, I fried up some diced potatoes. In New Orleans, we seem to call these a lot Brabant potatoes. And I'm going to add them first. As much as you like.
A spicy smoked Cajun sausage, andouille, is also added. Any smoked sausage will work.
While our potatoes are just crisping up a little bit, this is actually some andouille sausage. And if you can find andouille, it's a wonderful, wonderful ingredient. And I've just chopped it up. I've taken the skin off. And I actually rendered that earlier today before I brought it up. And that's when we're going to start. Then add a little bit of our andouille. And just in case your andouille doesn't have enough garlic, we'll add a little bit more garlic as well. And I'm going to add a little bit of green onion. We can just lower that heat a little bit, and then we're ready to start grilling our yellowfin tuna steak.
The tuna was sprinkled with olive oil.
And then we're just going to start grilling our tuna. My tuna steak is actually about an inch thick. good inch and a half. And what I'm going to do is I want to grill it about maybe 2 to 3 minutes on each side to get the tuna steak, the steak of the sea, nice and pink.
Keep an eye on the potato sausage hash and stir occasionally. After 2 minutes, the tuna is turned once.
Oh, look how beautiful that is. It's the fun of grilling. Smells delicious. And as the steak begins to just get to that rare to medium rare stage, what I really love to do to finish is just sort of glaze a little of our tuna steak. And the great thing about now when you finish this and the heat gets captured in there, we get this nice little glaze on top of our tuna.
The tuna steak is served on top of the hash.
Now we're just gonna drizzle a little of that. Has a wonderful flavor. And our tuna steak, oh boy, does it look great. Perfect medium rare. Well, gotta add my favorite little garnishes, so.
From burgers to turkeys, veggies to ribs, even pizza to cakes, you can cook anything you normally cook on your stove or in your oven perfectly on your Weber gas barbecue any time of year. But how can you be sure each dish will come out done to perfection every time? The key is mastering the 2 different methods of cooking. Direct cooking, which simulates cooking on a broiler, and indirect cooking, which is much like roasting in a convection oven. Use the direct cooking method for preheating your gas barbecue and for searing foods like steaks and burgers. As a rule of thumb, any meat that's done in less than 25 minutes. With direct cooking, all of your burners are used, so heat penetrates your food evenly from directly underneath. Through Weber's unique cooking system, hot juices that drip from the food are angled away from the flame and vaporized, just long enough to give you that real barbecue flavor without dangerous flare-ups. Any unvaporized juices are funneled to a disposable catch pan below, so cleanup's a breeze. Searing meat is perfect for sealing in juices and moisture. Simply preheat your Weber gas barbecue by turning all burners to high and closing the lid. Once the temperature reaches 500 degrees, place the meat on the cooking grill, close the lid, and sear for 2 minutes. Once seared, turn the center burner off, lower the outer burners to medium, flip the meat, and complete the cooking with the lid down, turning only once halfway through the grilling time so heat doesn't escape. When turning meat, always use tongs or a spatula. Forks or any utensils that may pierce the meat can cause juices to escape and meat to turn dry. For the perfect tools, pick up a Weber traditional tool set. Safe and durable, they're a must-have for even the most basic barbecuer. By turning the center burner off and the outer burners to medium, you've now begun cooking by the indirect method. Use the indirect method to complete grilling of meats after searing, and grilling larger cuts of meat, like roasts or turkeys. Also, any foods that don't require searing, like vegetables, breads, and desserts. With the indirect method, instead of food being placed directly over the flame, heat radiates off metal bars and circulates evenly inside the grill to cook food all around. Remember, be sure to lift the lid only when necessary, or heat will escape, adding more time to grilling. To grill your roast to perfection, Weber's premium roast holder is the perfect accessory for capturing juices for gravy and preventing a mess. It even has handles to carry your food from grill top to cutting board. And to add that irresistible wood-smoked flavor to whatever you're grilling, the Weber Steam and Chip Smoker is the perfect gas barbecue add-on. Before you start cooking, place Weber Fire Spice cooking woods and water in the smoker. When you're done, a masterpiece that may make it difficult to keep the neighbors away. No matter what you're grilling or which method you're using, Weber has the perfect gas barbecue accessory to make it come out perfectly. Anyone can grill the perfect barbecue. All it takes is knowing the right method of cooking, owning the right barbecue accessories, and of course, the right gas barbecue.
We inspect the porcelain on steel surface for durability, check the triple burners to heat evenly, and the precise angle of the steel bars to eliminate flare-ups. We test every gas valve and gauge for accuracy, and even evaluate the swing-up tables for maximum utility. The Weber Gas Barbecue. Of all the testing, examining, and retesting that goes into it, the true test is what comes out of it. If it's Weber, it's great outdoors.
At the G&E Courtyard Grill in the French Quarter, the titular centerpiece is a large grill and rotisserie often loaded with succulent whole chickens. Chef Michael Udo can achieve similar results with a charcoal-fueled covered grill. Lusty seasoning reveals his Italian heritage, and although he uses the direct method here, indirect cooking will also work beautifully.
This is a corn-fed young chicken. It's a little bit different from the grocery store. It doesn't have a lot of the different things that are fed into it. And we're going to go ahead and dress our bird first before we go ahead and put it in there. First, we're going to use a little garlic. I'm just going to roughly chop it because we're going to kind of rub it inside and outside the cavity. We'll do a little just trimming off right now. Sorry about that. And just rub the bird with garlic in and outside the cavity. A little salt. Some pepper. We like to use a lot of coarse ground pepper at the restaurant just because it has a nice flavor and kind of cooks a little bit more gently than pure ground pepper. And then we're going to use some fresh rosemary. We're just going to lightly pick it on the top, kind of liberally. Doesn't matter really if you have a lot of big stems in there. A lot of it falls off during the roasting period anyway. Then we'll just kind of cut the stem in half and stick it inside of the bird itself. And then we have a little low sodium soy here. This helps with the browning part of the chicken and gives it a really nice golden color for those rainy day barbecues when you really have to show everybody what you need to do. But it also helps with the flavor of the chicken. And then we just open our pit. Pit is at 400 degrees right now, and we'll put it in for about 30 to 40 minutes until it's done. We've made up a green mixture of organic arugula, frise, a little bit of leek and radicchio to kind of complement the dish because it is very, very light. And it's basically our salad bed that we're using, and we're going to be coming in with some just shoestring potatoes that we're going to be working in with the chicken. You can cook them ahead of time. They don't have to be hot, but just make sure you cook them all the way, just for basically a different consistency and flavor. Sauce is very simple type of vinaigrette. It's one using of garlic and balsamic vinegar and chicken stock, and it's very, very simple and very, very tasty. We're going to take garlic again. We're just going to slice it. It saves on fingertips, and it gives a nice presentation at the end of the meal.
Brown the garlic in olive oil.
At this point, you want to add, just to go ahead and add a little bit of pepper, a little bit of salt, and some coarse ground black pepper.
This can be done on your kitchen range.
Okay. Going to add just a little bit of balsamic vinegar to this dish. A little bit of chicken stock, which you can use either chicken broth at home, but watch your salt content. And we're just going to go ahead and let it kind of cook down. We've got our sauce down, and we're just letting it reduce lightly. It's going to be like a light vinaigrette. We're going to finish it off with a little bit of small diced tomatoes. Again, it's a very nice light summer dish. And a little bit of fresh mint. Okay. I don't even mix that mint in. I kind of less like the flavor to be on the outside. Let's take our chicken. And just kind of come right on top of it. There you have it.
Jamie Shannon is one of several chefs, including Paul Prudhomme and Emeril Lagasse, who have led the kitchen at the venerable Commander's Palace in uptown New Orleans. The landmark restaurant is run by one branch of the Brennan family and revels in dishes featuring Louisiana seafood. Here's an example using a charcoal grill, red snapper with grilled vegetables. The vegetables include red, green, and yellow bell peppers, a halved garlic toe, and lemon halves, dressed in olive oil, salt, and pepper. They are placed on the grill perimeter.
Right. You always want to close the lid. Creates a little bit more heat, and you want to let it go for a little bit. Make sure the valves are open. If you want to add some more charcoal, the Weber has the quick, easy load flap here, which is easy to add charcoal, which you don't have to pull the whole grill up. It also has a convenient storage spot. To hold your charcoal, and has a quick gas igniter to light your grill so you don't have to use matches and newspaper.
Wild mushrooms are also grilled.
These are cornucopias, these are shiitake, and these are puffballs. These are really neat. These are actually all grown and are found in Louisiana. These are really pané really well. They're actually like a tofu consistency. They're delicious. I'm gonna add my mushrooms. They take only a couple seconds to cook. Some shiitake, some puffball mushrooms, my eggplant.
The remaining vegetables were coated with olive oil, salt and pepper, and chopped parsley.
Then my tomatoes. I want to just cook just a little bit, warm them up.
The chef now prepares the fish.
What we have here is a red snapper. It's actually a lane snapper. It's indigenous to the Gulf. And here in New Orleans, what we do is we like to cut the fish and cook it with the skin side down, keep the scales on, but just put the one side on the grill. We're going to season it, and actually the scales will keep it moist, the skin will keep it moist, but it'll get all the full flavor from the grill, from the direct heat, and it will sear in the flavors on the bottom while it will steam the fish on the top. It's quite a unique way to cook fish. What you want to do is make sure your fish is seasoned. Rub in some salt, some white pepper. Put some garlic.
The grill is opened and the chef rearranges the vegetables.
Sometimes when some vegetables are cooking on the grill, some are cooked faster than the other ones, and I'll keep them warm by stacking them on top of each other. So you stop the cooking process, but keep them warm. Okay. We're going to add our fish on the hottest part of the grill, which is the center there. We're going to add a little bit of olive oil. And put that lid down so the top will cook.
Sprinkle the vegetables with olive oil. The goal is to finish the fish and vegetables more or less simultaneously.
All right, let's check our fish. It takes about 15 minutes. Nice fire. And it's done. Skin comes right off. Garnish this with a little bit of capers.
Chef Michael Udo's second dish also employs direct heat over charcoal. It's grilled lamb chops with wild mushrooms and leek.
These are our grilled lamb rack chops. These are quite small. These come from New Zealand, but if you get them at your butcher, America has great lamb. You'll just make sure that as much fat has been trimmed off as possible. A lot of people have an aversion to fat these days. Just put a little coarse ground black pepper on these. We're going to rub them in a little bit of olive oil. Some garlic. Which would just kind of cover each one. Again, you know, this stuff's going to fall off, but sometimes it'll stick on there and it helps out. And a little bit of fresh rosemary. Dried rosemary is fine. Turn these over. And just a tiny bit of salt. We don't salt it too much. And then we'll go ahead and put it on the grill. I like to reshape the meat right before I put it on the grill to make sure that it's completely even, especially with lamb chops. They cook very quickly. So you want to make sure that you've got all that together. In preparation of our mushroom salad, we've got three mushrooms varieties here. We have the shiitake, which is pretty common, oyster mushroom, which is also very common, can be found in specialty stores, and then a portobello, which has a nice woody flavor, almost kind of like beef flavor. You can tell the freshness in the portobello by the ridges that are, or the gills that they call them, in between the mushroom. And basically, we're just going to go ahead and take it and just kind of slice it just like a piece of meat.
The mushrooms are joined with julienned leeks.
You might want to cut this bigger. Adding a little bit of seafood seasoning. And a little bit of oil. And I have a little soft butter here, just to kind of work into the bowl itself. More soft butter. A little parsley. Then we'll go ahead and place these on our grill for just a couple of minutes. Gonna put our mushroom salad on there. The top. You can see you're generating quite a lot of heat now. Go ahead. Again, you're working your lamb chops. and your mushrooms are cooking along just fine. You might want to, you flip them occasionally, but try not to work them too much because then they'll fall in and kind of keep them into a little bit of a pile.
The grill is covered for another 3 minutes. After a total of 6 minutes, the vegetables are removed.
This is a nice warm salad. Adjust our lamb chops here a little bit. Set down. And we're going to mix the mushroom salad with a little bit of fresh arugula. Some yellow peppers. Some red peppers. And green onion. Now remember, you don't have to season this because you've already seasoned the mushrooms. And you're going to go ahead and toss that. In preparation for our potato dish that's going to accompany the lamb and the mushroom salad, again, we're going to go back to picking some fresh rosemary. We've got some roasted potatoes that we've roasted in the oven for about 35 minutes with very little oil, and they're nice and kind of crispy. One of the nice things about this dish, this particular potato dish, is that it uses radicchio, and radicchio is used wonderfully. It can be grilled, it can be used salads raw, it can be sautéed, and it's an Italian chicory.
Sliced garlic is also used. The vegetables are warmed in olive oil. This can be done on the kitchen stove.
Our garlic and rosemary mixture. And this time we're not going to let the garlic brown. We're just going to go ahead and let it saute just a few minutes and add our radicchio just so the flavor kind of comes out. We're going to go ahead and flip this a bit. Put our potatoes in. Then flip it up. Parsley, of course, ground pepper, and just a little bit of salt. We have a little sauce here, which is just a natural reduction of veal stock and roasted garlic and a little bit of Worcestershire. Just gonna put that at the bottom of the plate.
This is optional, or you can spike a little beef gravy with garlic and Worcestershire.
Around a bit. Come on with our potatoes. And then we'll put our lamb chops on there. And to shuffle with just a little bit more pepper. We like it spicy here in New Orleans. Parsley.
Finally, duck is the focus of a salad prepared by Jamie Shannon. He uses both direct and indirect cooking over charcoal. Watch his inventive vinaigrette dressing.
We're going to do the indirect method with the grilled duck salad with some wild greens and grilled vegetables. The duck I have here, I have trusted a little bit, and I let it sit in the refrigerator with it out of the package so the air can circulate around so to dry the skin out a little bit, and this will create the duck to be much crispier than if you took it out of the wet package wet and put it right on the grill. So I always advise, a day or two earlier, take the duck out and just let it dry a little bit, put it on a rack, and let the air circulate around it in the refrigerator, and this way it will get a little bit much more crisper. I'm going to grab a fork and grab the duck and poke a few holes, jacquard the duck underneath the legs especially. This is going to allow some of the fats to run out and will also make your duck crispier.
Season inside and out with salt, pepper, and chopped garlic.
Okay, here we have our grill lit. This is the indirect method. We have the charcoal holders. We have a pan to catch the juices. And we want to make sure that the grill is hot. The charcoals are all white. And then we're going to put the duck in and make sure that the air valves are open and let it sit and cook. You don't want to go in and out of the grill. You want to try not to lift it up as much as possible because you're going to let the heat out. So we're just going to let it go. It takes about, for this 2.5 pound duck, it takes about 40 to 45 minutes.
Halfway through cooking, shallots, radicchio, leeks, and Belgian endive are added to the grill. They are seasoned with salt, pepper, and olive oil.
I'm going to add a little bit of vinegar. I'm using some rice wine vinegar. All right. Add these to our duck. Put them off into the side a little bit. Put the vegetables right underneath the duck so they get a little bit of the drippings as flavor. The lettuces and the leeks. See, they'll sit in the pan and start roasting for flavor, and we'll put the shallots off to the side to grill.
Andouille sausage is also put directly on the grill.
Add some of our andouille, which is smoked spicy sausage. All right, let that go.
A number of factors, including air temperature, can influence the cooking time. The duck is finished when the juices run clear. The chef splits the duck in half and removes the backbone. He then separates the leg and thigh before boning the breast.
You want to run alongside the chest cavity. I'm going to slice the breast down. Put it on the plate. Add a little bit of my grilled Belgian endive for garnish. Some grilled leeks. Small wedge of radicchio. Some of the grilled andouille. And substitute some smoked pork sausage for that. Our duck breast.
Ever been to one of those cookouts where everything just seemed to turn out perfectly? Chances are it was more than the chef's special recipe that did it. The real secret starts with knowing the two different methods of cooking. Direct cooking, which simulates cooking on a broiler, and indirect cooking, which is much like roasting in a convection oven. Once you know them and use the right accessories, you can cook anything on your Weber charcoal grill you cook on your stove or in your oven. For steaks and burgers, or most things that take less than 25 minutes to cook, use the direct cooking method. Here, coals are spread evenly across the bottom grate so the heat source is directly under the food. To start the perfect direct fire, First, be sure all vents on your grill, both top and bottom, are completely open. Next, place Weber fire starters into the cradles of the lower grate. Weber fire starters replace fluid starters, and they're the safest, easiest way to light a fire. If your grate doesn't have cradles, you may want to replace it with the Weber Rapid Fire Charcoal Grate. Igniting the fire starters and briquettes will be even easier. Next, form a pyramid of charcoal briquettes, just enough to spread into a single layer across the bottom grate after briquettes are lit and ashed over. For the perfect number every time, light your coals in the Weber Rapid Fire Chimney Starter by igniting fire starters or crumpled newspaper from underneath. Made of durable aluminized steel, this chimney starter's unique cone-shaped grate allows more briquette edges to be exposed to the flame for faster ignition. Once coals are ashed, usually in about 25 minutes, with both handles, carefully pour the hot briquettes into a single layer, or evenly spread out your pyramid across the bottom grate using long-handled tongs. For a safe bet, always use a barbecue mitt, one that also protects your forearm from heat and fire, like this one. Now that your coals are spread, just replace the top cooking grate and you're ready to go. Always cook your food with the lid closed so heat won't escape. Your food only needs to be turned once halfway through the grilling time. For cooking kebabs, use Weber's two-prong skewer set. The two-prong design assures that delicate vegetables and meats turn only when you turn the skewer. When turning chops or steaks, always use a spatula or tongs. A fork will pierce the meat, causing juices to escape and meat to become dry. Safe and durable, Weber's traditional tool set has all the basic utensils you need. What beats a home-cooked meal straight from the oven? One straight from the grill. With the indirect cooking method, you can turn your Weber charcoal grill into a convection oven. Use it for cooking larger cuts of meat like roasts and turkeys, anything that takes more than 25 minutes. Through the indirect method, moist air enters the grill, is heated, then circulates inside the grill, cooking food all around. It all begins with starting the perfect indirect fire. Once all vents are open and fire starters are placed, fill both Weber char basket fuel holders with coals. Once fire starters are lit, slide the baskets directly over the flame using long-handled tongs. Made of durable aluminized steel, Weber char basket fuel holders are perfect for containing coals while cooking over indirect heat, and can also be used to hold wood chunks for added flavor. Once your coals are ashed over, use long-handled tongs to slide the char basket fuel holders to the outer sides and place a large Weber drip pan between them. This will prevent flare-ups and catch juices during cooking, so cleanup's a breeze. Coals can also be lit by placing an equal number of briquettes, uncontained, on either side of the bottom grate. This 22.5-inch grill takes 25 briquettes on either side for the perfect roasting temperature. Consult your cookbook for the number that's right for your size grill. After the drip pan is in place, simply replace the cooking grate with handles positioned directly over the char basket fuel holders so briquettes can be added. With a Weber hinged cooking grate, you'll be able to easily add briquettes while grilling. Add 6 to 8 briquettes per hour to maintain consistent heat. Weber hardwood charcoal briquettes are best for reaching and maintaining the perfect grilling temperature. Made with 100% hickory, they burn hotter and longer, so overall fewer briquettes can be used. With indirect cooking, you don't need to tend or turn your food. It's important to lift the lid only when necessary, or heat will escape. So be sure to let foods grill the minimum time given in a recipe before checking doneness. When checking for doneness, use a meat thermometer. It'll help you know when the meat's right to serve. You can also get the best of both worlds of cooking. For added flavor, cook meat over direct heat for a few minutes. Then complete the grilling with the indirect method for perfect tenderness. From fire starters to cooking grates, Everything you need to start the perfect indirect or direct fire can be found in the Weber Indirect Cooking System Kit. Also available in individual pieces, these accessories will make starting your fire a cinch. And no matter what you're grilling, Weber has the perfect grilling accessory to help it come out perfectly. Expand your grill's cooking area with the Weber Kettle Warming Rack, perfect for cooking veggies and warming breads. Or the durable premium rib rack that's also ideal for chicken and extra thick chops. Need your space? Hook on a Weber Sidekick work table that can be removed to serve as a cutting board. And for carrying big cuts from the grill top to cutting board, Weber's premium roast holder has durable handles to help. There's a Weber Kettle accessory designed to make your grilling job even easier, no matter what it entails.
You could say it's because it's the only charcoal grill that starts with the push of a button, or because its stainless steel work surface opens to a charcoal storage bin, that the flip-up cooking grate gives easier access to the char baskets below, or that the simple stroke of a lever clears the ashes in a single sweep. The Weber Performer Grill. Of all the great features that have been put into it, perhaps the best feature is what you get out of it. If it's Weber, it's great outdoors.